Stang, this is Big Top, bringing out the full package.
The barbecues by myself, you know?
Even as President Asher is set to meet...
How was the barbecue I missed?
Alex? Anyway, Alex. Overwhelmed. Okay, Mike, we'll talk about it later.
All right, we're boyfriends.
You know what I think we should do?
Thanks.
So, how was your fourth? I'm shocked.
Miss Jacobs?
In the late shift. Yeah, nonsense.
No, I mean, business as usual.
You too.
Come Thursday now, all right?
Okay. I went back in.
Every day. Never even stopped to greet.
Is he still sneaking around the White House, making everybody crazy?
Be then, never mind now. And you don't exist.
That's great, Jacobs. Let me write that one down.
Camp David looks peaceful under the winter sky. Snow everywhere, trees heavy with it, the kind of quiet you only get when you're miles from civilization with the most protected man in America. President Benjamin Asher is sparring with Mike Banning in the gym, throwing jabs while his Secret Service agent dances around him, correcting his form. There's an ease between them that goes beyond professional. Banning isn't just security, he's practically family. Keep your guard up, sir. Asher grins, throws another combination. Misses. Banning counters with a light tap to the ribs, enough to prove the point without bruising the commander-in-chief's ego. They're both laughing when First Lady Margaret Asher walks in with their son Connor, a kid maybe 10 years old, watching his dad spar with the kind of hero worship only a boy that age can manage. Margaret teases them about boys and their toys. She's warm, grounded, the kind of First Lady who makes the whole First family feel approachable instead of distant. Connor wants to learn those moves too. Banning promises to teach him later, ruffling the kid's hair. You can see it right there. Banning doesn't just protect these people, he loves them. The mood shifts when they pack up to leave. Weather's turning nasty, snow coming down harder, and the motorcade has to get back to DC before the roads get worse. Banning coordinates with the other agents, running through routes and contingencies the way he's done 1,000 times. Everything's tight, everything's professional. Margaret bundles Connor into the presidential limo, Asher slides in beside them, and Banning takes his seat up front in the follow car, eyes scanning the tree line as they roll out. Night falls fast in the mountains. Visibility drops. The convoy winds down narrow roads with the Potomac somewhere below, frozen and black. Banning's on comms, checking in with the lead vehicle, monitoring the weather reports. Standard procedure. Except nothing about what happens next is standard. A deer bolts across the road. The lead vehicle swerves. Tires scream on ice. The presidential limo, armored heavy, not built for quick maneuvers, loses traction. Banning sees it happening in slow motion from the follow car, the limo skidding sideways, the driver overcorrecting, the whole vehicle sliding toward the guardrail. Metal shrieks, the rail snaps like it's made of cardboard instead of steel. The limo punches through and dangles over the edge of the bridge, rear wheels still on pavement, front end hanging over a 100-foot drop to the frozen river below. Banning's out of his vehicle before it fully stops. Other agents scramble behind him, but he's already sprinting across the ice-slick asphalt, shouting orders into his radio, adrenaline drowning out everything except the mission: get them out. He reaches the limo, sees Margaret in the backseat clutching Connor, Asher beside her, all three of them frozen in terror as the car groans and shifts, metal bending under the strain. The weight distribution is all wrong. Opening the rear door could tip the whole thing over. Banning doesn't hesitate. He yanks open the front passenger door, climbs half inside, reaches back. "Connor first!" Margaret pushes her son forward, and Banning grabs the kid, hauls him through the gap, passes him to another agent. One safe. Asher's next. Banning locks eyes with the president, sees the fear there, the trust, and pulls him forward. Asher scrambles through just as the limo lurches, metal screaming louder now, the whole vehicle sliding another inch toward the abyss. Margaret's still inside. Banning reaches for her. She reaches back, fingers stretching, almost there, and the limo gives up its fight with gravity. It tilts, drops, and Banning's hand closes on empty air as the vehicle plunges off the bridge with Margaret trapped inside. The sound it makes hitting the ice is something he'll hear for the rest of his life. Silence, then chaos. Agents shouting, Asher screaming his wife's name, Connor sobbing. Banning's already moving, running to the edge, looking for a way down. The limo's cracked through the ice, half-submerged, water flooding in. He finds a slope, slides down the embankment, nearly breaks his ankle hitting the ice below. The cold is vicious, the kind that steals your breath, but he doesn't feel it. He reaches the limo, dives into the black water. Dark, freezing, disorienting. He finds the vehicle, finds the door, the window, tries to pry it open. The pressure's too much. The water's pouring in faster than he can work. He can see her silhouette inside, motionless. He pulls, yanks, uses every ounce of strength he has, and it's not enough. His lungs are burning, his hands are numb. Other agents are in the water now, trying to help, but it's too late. They drag him out. He fights them, tries to go back in. Takes 3 men to hold him on the ice while he screams her name into the storm. The media covers it for weeks. First Lady Margaret Asher, dead at 46. Secret Service agent Mike Banning, heroic effort, saved the president and his son, couldn't save her. The official investigation clears him of any wrongdoing. He made the right call, extracted the president first, standard protocol, no one could have done more. Asher himself refuses to blame him even through his grief, but Banning blames himself. You can see it in every frame of the footage after. The haunted look, the mechanical responses during interviews, the way he can't meet Connor's eyes at the funeral. 18 months later, that look hasn't faded. King log, phrases used in Part 1, Camp David. Once, you can see, once, Banning, as sentence starter multiple, need to vary going forward. Time transitions used, night falls fast. 18 months later. Avoided, in this scene, moving on. Interestingly, it's worth noting. End of Part 1. Word count, E1050 words. Wait, I'm well under target. Let me continue and expand to reach the 1,008 to 2,000 word range for this opening section. The guilt doesn't fade with time, it calcifies. Hardens into something Banning carries in his chest every single day, heavier than the Glock on his hip ever was. He's at the Treasury Department now, working a desk job in what amounts to career purgatory for someone with his skill set. The official story is that he requested the transfer, needed time away from the presidential detail after the trauma. The real story? The service couldn't keep him on Asher's team. Too many optics problems, too much emotional baggage, too much risk that the agent who couldn't save the First Lady might freeze up when it counts. So here he is, pushing papers, running security drills for a building full of bureaucrats, going through motions that used to define his entire identity. His wife Leah tries to be understanding. She's a nurse, deals with trauma cases all the time, knows better than to push when he goes quiet at dinner or wakes up at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling. But even she can see he's stuck, still living in those seconds on the bridge when his fingers couldn't quite reach Margaret's hand, still running through scenarios where maybe if he'd moved faster, calculated the weight distribution differently, gone for her first instead of following protocol. Doesn't matter, she's gone, he's here, and the man he failed is in the White House with a security detail. Banning helped train but can't be part of anymore. The Treasury building has a view of the White House if you stand at the right window on the right floor. Banning doesn't admit how often he finds himself at that window, watching the grounds, tracking the shift changes he still knows by heart, noticing the subtle adjustments his replacement made to the patrol patterns. Old habits die hard, harder still when they're all you've got left of who you used to be. Connor Asher is 12 now, growing up fast inside those gates, surrounded by agents who aren't Banning, living with a father who's never quite recovered from losing his wife. Banning wonders sometimes if the kid remembers those sparring lessons at Camp David, the tactical games they play, the way Banning used to sneak him extra dessert when Margaret wasn't looking. Probably not. Trauma has a way of erasing the good stuff along with the bad. Director Lynn Jacobs runs the Secret Service now. She's brilliant, uncompromising, and sympathetic to Banning's situation in the way that doesn't actually change anything. He's requested reassignment back to the presidential detail twice. She's turned him down twice. Not because she doubts his abilities, she's made that clear, but because the decision isn't purely tactical. Politics matter. Public perception matters. The image of Banning back on Asher's team would raise questions neither the president nor the service wants to answer, so Banning stays at Treasury, stays in shape with a workout regimen that would kill most operators half his age, stays sharp on the range, stays ready for a call he knows isn't coming. July 5th starts like every other day in this purgatory. Coffee, commute, desk, paperwork. Except there's a meeting at the White House today. South Korean Prime Minister Lee Tae-woo visiting for high-level talks about the situation on the Korean peninsula. Tensions have been building for months. North Korea making threats, the South pushing back, the US caught in the middle trying to maintain peace through strength. Standard geopolitical dance, the kind that happens a dozen times a year without anyone outside the Beltway paying much attention. Banning pays attention. He's watched every briefing, read every threat assessment that crosses his desk at Treasury. Old instincts. The Korean summit means elevated security protocols at the White House, larger Secret Service presence, additional screening for the visiting delegation and their security teams. Routine, but complex. The kind of operation Banning used to run in his sleep. He catches himself pulling up the White House security feed on his monitor. Technically, he still has clearance for the basic systems. Technically, he shouldn't be using it to watch an operation he's not assigned to. He does it anyway, tracking the motorcade arriving, the South Korean security personnel moving through the checkpoints, everything looking tight and professional and exactly how he would have run it. One of the Korean security guys looks familiar. Banning zooms in on the face, frowns. Takes him a second to place it. Dave Forbes, former Secret Service, left the agency maybe 2 years back to go private sector. Good agent, bit of a cowboy attitude, but solid under pressure. Makes sense he'd land a cushy gig doing executive protection for foreign dignitaries. The pay's probably triple what the service offers, and you don't have to take a bullet for anyone unless you're really unlucky. Forbes is chatting with some of the current White House agents like they're old buddies, which they probably are. Small world in the protection business. Banning's phone buzzes. Leah, texting him about dinner plans. He responds absently, eyes still on the monitor, watching the delegation move inside. Everything's routine, everything's fine. The White House is probably the most secure building in the world right now, with 2 heads of state inside and enough firepower in the surrounding blocks to repel a small army. He closes the feed. Gets back to work, tries not to think about the fact that he should be in there, should be standing post, should be doing the job he was born for instead of reviewing expense reports in a building 3 blocks away. By early afternoon, the meeting's in full swing. Banning checks the news feeds during his lunch break, C-SPAN covering it in that dry, procedural way that makes international diplomacy look like the most boring thing on earth. President Asher and Prime Minister Lee shaking hands for the cameras, flanked by their respective teams, the usual political theater. Routine. Just another day in Washington. Except it's not. 2:30 in the afternoon and the sky over Washington looks wrong. Banning notices it first on the monitors. A blip entering restricted airspace, coming in low from the northwest. Air traffic control is already scrambling, trying to raise the aircraft on radio. No response. The blip keeps coming, dropping altitude, moving faster than any commercial flight should be moving over the nation's capital. His desk phone rings. Treasury Security Coordinator, voice tight. "We've got an unidentified aircraft inbound. NORAD's tracking it. You see, miss?" Banning's already on his feet, pulling up every feed he can access. The aircraft resolves on camera massive, dark, definitely military hardware. C-130 profile but modified, bristling with weapons systems that shouldn't exist on a transport plane. Air Force fighters are scrambling from Andrews, but they're minutes out. This thing is seconds from the National Mall. That's a gunship, Banning says into the phone. Get everyone inside, now! The line goes dead. Not disconnected, dead. Cut. Every screen in his office flickers, goes black, comes back up showing emergency broadcasts, and then the shooting starts. The gunship opens fire on the Washington Monument. Tracers light up the afternoon sky, 25mm rounds chewing through stone and metal like tissue paper. Tourists scatter, screaming, trampled in the panic. The camera feed jumps to another angle, the aircraft banking hard, guns swiveling toward the street, and suddenly cars are exploding, pavement erupting, bodies tumbling through the air. Banning's already moving. Grabs his go bag from under the desk, old habit, kept it packed even after the transfer, and heads for the stairwell. Elevators are death traps in a crisis. Behind him, Treasury personnel are flooding the hallways, confused, terrified, no idea what's happening. He shoves through them, taking stairs 3 at a time. Ground floor. Emergency exit. The sound hits him first when he bursts outside. Gunfire, explosions, sirens layering over each other into a wall of noise that feels physical. Smoke rolling down Pennsylvania Avenue. People running in every direction, most of them away from the White House. Banning runs toward it. The gunship is making another pass, this time directly over the White House lawn. The miniguns light up, and suddenly Secret Service agents are cut down mid-sprint, their bodies jerking like puppets with cut strings. The outer security fence might as well be made of paper. Tourists who were taking selfies 5 minutes ago are now face down on the concrete, blood pooling around them. How did this happen? How did a hostile aircraft penetrate the most protected airspace in the world? Doesn't matter right now. Banning hits Pennsylvania Avenue at a dead run, weapon drawn. He's still carrying even at Treasury, old habit again, and immediately spots the second wave of the attack. Ground operatives dressed like tourists, like businessmen, like anyone else on a summer day in D.C., suddenly pulling automatic weapons from bags and opening fire on police, on federal officers, on anyone in uniform. Coordinated, precise. Planned down to the second. A Metropolitan Police officer goes down 10 feet from Banning, taking rounds to the chest. Banning drops to one knee, puts 3 shots into the shooter before the guy can swing his weapon around. 2 more hostiles moving up from Lafayette Square. Banning takes cover behind an overturned police cruiser, fires again, drops one. The other ducks behind a concrete planter. The gunship roars overhead so low Banning can feel the downdraft. It's heading straight for the White House, guns blazing, ripping apart the north portico. Windows explode. Stone facade crumbles. The American flag takes a direct hit and shreds into ribbons. Fighters finally arrive. 2 F-16s screaming in from the east. About damn time. Except the gunship has countermeasures, flares popping like fireworks, missiles going wide. The pilots try to get tone, but this thing is maneuvering like it weighs nothing, banking hard over the mall, coming around for another pass. On the White House lawn, the real massacre unfolds. Secret Service agents are fighting back, but they're outgunned and surrounded. Banning recognizes some of them from his old team. Agent Roma coordinating defensive positions. Director Jacobs probably inside running the evacuation protocol. The terrorist ground force is pushing through the outer perimeter, executing wounded agents with headshots, moving with military efficiency toward the building itself. Banning's maybe 200 yards out when the gunship makes its final run. Comes in low and fast, takes concentrated fire from every defensive position still operational, and doesn't even slow down. Clips the Washington Monument with its wingstone, explodes in a shower of debris, and then just plows directly into the White House lawn like a kamikaze strike. The impact is enormous. Fireball erupts, black smoke mushrooming up, the entire aircraft disintegrating across the South Lawn. But it's not a suicide run, it's a diversion. The crash creates cover, chaos, a smokescreen that lets the ground teams push forward unopposed. They swarm through the breach, pouring into the White House through shattered doors and blown-out windows. Anyone still fighting on the lawn gets flanked and cut down. Banning sprints toward the east side of the grounds, avoiding the main assault routes. There's a service entrance he knows, used by maintenance and catering staff, probably forgotten in the chaos. If he can get inside before the building is fully locked down. Gunfire to his left. He spins, sees 3 hostiles executing a wounded agent. Returns fire, drops 2. The third takes cover. No time for a prolonged fight. Banning keeps moving, reaches the perimeter wall, vaults over it in a spot where the fence is down, lands hard on the other side. The White House grounds look like a war zone, bodies everywhere, smoke so thick you can barely see 20 feet. Small arms fire echoing from inside the building. And still more terrorists advancing, consolidating positions, setting up fields of fire. Inside the White House, the evacuation is falling apart. Banning can hear it on the emergency channel, still broadcasting on his earpiece from when he grabbed his gear. Agents calling for backup, reporting breaches on multiple floors, trying to get the president to the bunker. Director Jacobs coordinating, her voice steady even as the situation disintegrates around her. PEOC secure, moving Eagle now. All units fall back to... Transmission cuts to static. Then a voice Banning doesn't recognize, accented, cold. Olympus is ours. Radio goes silent. Olympus, the Secret Service code name for the White House. Olympus has fallen. Banning reaches the service entrance. Doors been blown open from inside. The terrorists had internal help. Had to. No other way they'd know the security protocols this intimately. He clears the doorway, moves into a maintenance corridor he's walked 1,000 times. Emergency lighting casts everything in red. Somewhere above him, automatic weapons fire in sustained bursts. The bunker. They're going for the PEOC, the Presidential Emergency Operations Center buried beneath the East Wing. Hardened against nuclear strikes, isolated from external attack, it's where Asher would have been moved the second the alert went out. If the terrorists control it, they control the president. Banning moves through the corridors like a ghost, muscle memory guiding him even in the smoke and darkness. He can hear boots above, shouted commands in Korean. The South Korean delegation! That's how they got in weapons smuggled through diplomatic channels, operatives embedded in the security detail. The whole thing, a Trojan horse wrapped in a peace summit. Forbes, that familiar face on the monitor. Former Secret Service, now working for the visiting delegation, moving through the White House like he still belonged there. Traitor. A patrol comes around the corner, 2 hostiles in tactical gear, moving room to room clearing resistance. They don't see Banning until he's already on them. Close quarters, no room for gunplay. Knife work, fast and brutal. They go down without a sound. Banning takes one of their radios, listens. The chatter confirms what he already knows. The bunker is compromised, hostages secured, the president is alive but contained. Someone named Kang is running the operation, issuing orders in clipped English. The Pentagon must know by now. NORAD, JSOC, FBI, every alphabet agency in DC scrambling to respond. But response takes time. Organization, command decisions. Right now, this second, Banning might be the only friendly operator inside the building. One man, against an army. He's been in worse situations. Actually, no, he hasn't. But he's going anyway, because 18 months ago he couldn't save Margaret when it mattered, couldn't reach her hand, couldn't pull her free. Failed the first family when they needed him most. Not this time. Banning checks his weapon, counts his remaining magazines, and moves deeper into the building. Somewhere beneath his feet, behind layers of concrete and steel, President Asher is trapped with terrorists who just killed their way through the most secure facility on Earth. Time to even the odds. The Presidential Emergency Operations Center wasn't designed to be a trap. Hardened bunker, independent life support, communication lines to every military installation in the country. It's supposed to be the safest room in America when everything goes wrong topside. Except right now, it's a cage. President Asher is on his knees, hands zip-tied behind his back. Secretary of Defense Ruth McMillan beside him, blood running from a cut above her eye. Vice President Charlie Rodriguez slumped against the wall, breathing hard. South Korean Prime Minister Lee Tae-woo separated from the Americans, flanked by 2 armed men who hours ago were supposed to be his security detail. Standing over them all, Kang Yeon-sak, mid-40s, ex-North Korean Special Forces, moving with the controlled precision of someone who's planned this moment down to the second. He's not dressed like the other operatives. No tactical vest, no obvious weapons, just a dark suit that would have fit perfectly at the diplomatic reception upstairs before his team turned it into a slaughterhouse. Mr. President, Kang's English is flawless, almost academic. You and I are going to have a conversation about Cerberus. Asher's face goes white. Whatever Cerberus is, the name alone just changed the stakes. Director Jacobs is here too, forced into a corner with Agent Roma and 2 other surviving Secret Service agents. Roma's shoulder is bleeding, applying pressure with his free hand while his weapon hand stays locked on his holstered sidearm. Jacobs meets Asher's eyes across the room, a silent exchange that says everything and nothing. Forbes moves through the bunker like he owns it. Because he does, in a way. Former Secret Service means he knows the layout, the protocols, the blind spots. He's already disabled half the security systems, locked out the external communication arrays, turned the bunker's defenses against itself. When Agent Roma makes a move, fast, desperate, going for his weapon, Forbes shoots him twice in the chest before anyone else can react. Roma goes down, doesn't get back up. Jacobs lunges, gets a rifle butt to the face for her trouble, hits the floor hard, blood pouring from her nose. Anyone else? Forbes scans the room, weapon steady. Nobody moves. Good. Kang gestures to one of his men, who drags Prime Minister Lee to the center of the room. Lee's pleading in Korean, then English, voice cracking. He doesn't understand. He was told this was about reunification, about sending a message to the Americans, not... The gunshot cuts him off. Lee crumples, skull shattered, blood spraying across the polished floor. Silence, complete and total. Kang holsters his weapon. Now, Cerberus! 3 floors up, Banning is putting pieces together. The emergency communication system is military-grade encrypted, supposedly unhackable, but the terrorists have jammed everything except their own frequencies. He's intercepted enough chatter to understand the broad strokes: bunker is hostile territory, president is alive, multiple high-value hostages, unknown demands. Cerberus keeps coming up in the intercepts. Whatever it is, Kang wants it badly enough to stage the most audacious terrorist attack on U.S. soil since 9/11. Banning moves through the West Wing like smoke, every corner memorized, every blind spot cataloged from years of walking these halls. The terrorists have set up checkpoints at major intersections, but they don't know the building like he does. Service corridors, maintenance shafts, crawl spaces designed for utilities and overlooked by everyone who doesn't need them. 2 more hostiles clearing offices. Banning waits until they separate, takes the first one from behind, hand over mouth, blade under the ribs, lower to the floor silently. Second one turns at the wrong moment, sees his partner going down, raises his weapon. Banning throws the knife, catches the guy in the throat. He goes down gurgling, trying to scream through a severed windpipe. Neither makes enough noise to draw attention. Banning recovers his knife, takes their weapons and ammo. He's carrying an arsenal now. Pistol, 2 rifles, enough magazines to fight a small war, which is basically what he's doing. Footsteps, heavy boots, multiple contacts. Banning ducks into an office, Chief of Staff's workspace, empty now, papers scattered across the desk from the evacuation. He kills the lights, waits in the dark while a patrol passes. 6 men moving in formation, professional, checking corners. Once they're clear, Banning slips out and heads deeper into the complex. The Situation Room is a wreck. Monitors shattered, conference table overturned, 2 dead agents sprawled near the entrance. Banning checks them for vitals anyway, already knowing what he'll find. The electronics are trashed, but not completely. There's a hardline terminal in the corner, outdated tech that most people forgot existed. It's isolated from the main network, runs on a separate system that predates the current security infrastructure. Worth a shot. Banning boots it up. Takes forever, ancient processor struggling to life, but eventually he gets a login screen, uses his old credentials, expecting them to be locked out. They're not? Someone at the Pentagon either forgot to revoke his access or deliberately left a back door. Either way, he's in. Establishing connection. Please wait. The screen flickers. Text appears. Identify yourself. Banning types. Banning. Mike. SS4114. I'm inside. Long pause. Then, Banning, this is General Edward Clegg, JSOC Command. Confirm your location. White House, West Wing, Situation Room. Multiple hostiles on all floors. Bunker is compromised. President is contained. Copy that. We have Acting President Trumbull standing by. Patching him in now. The screen shifts to a different encryption protocol. Then, Mike, it's Alan Trumbull. Thank God. What's your status? Speaker of the House, Alan Trumbull. Next in line if both the President and Vice President are incapacitated. Which means Trumbull is running the country from wherever the continuity of government protocols stashed him. Probably Site R or Mount Weather, deep underground with the Joint Chiefs and half of Congress. Banning types fast. Building is hostile. Estimate 40 to 50 enemy combatants, possibly more. They're dug in, organized, heavily armed. Secret Service has taken massive casualties. Director Jacobs is in the bunker with POTUS. Multiple hostages. They're asking about something called Cerberus. Even through text, the delay before Trumbull's response feels heavy. Cerberus is a fail-safe protocol tied to our ICBM defense grid. 3 separate codes, distributed among high-level officials in the national security structure. If all 3 codes are entered in sequence, it triggers self-destruct on all active missiles in their silos before they can be compromised by enemy forces. Banning stares at the screen. They want to blow up our nukes on U.S. soil. If they detonate our missiles in their silos, the fallout would devastate the country, effectively render large portions of the US uninhabitable, millions dead. Infrastructure collapse. We'd be a third world country overnight. Jesus. Who has the codes? Banning types. Secretary McMillan has one. Vice President Rodriguez has another. The president holds the third. If Kang has all three, he can activate Cerberus. They'll torture them for it. I know. Banning sits back, processing. This isn't about ransom, not about political demands or prisoner exchanges. This is about crippling America so thoroughly it never recovers. And Kang picked the one day when he could get all three code holders in the same room. We're mobilizing a response, Trumbull's message continues. Army Rangers, Delta Force, HRT. But it'll take time. Rules of engagement are complicated with hostages and POTUS on site. What are your capabilities? Banning considers lying, making himself sound like an entire team instead of one man with rapidly depleting ammo and zero backup. Decides against it. It's just me. I'm armed, mobile, and undetected so far, but I can't assault the bunker alone. We're not asking you to assault anything. Stay hidden, gather intelligence, relay enemy positions and strength. Help us build a picture so when our teams arrive, they know what they're hitting. Makes sense tactically, frustrating as hell personally. Copy. I'll do what I can. Mike? Another message from Trumbull. Connor Asher wasn't in the bunker when it was taken. We think he's still somewhere in the building. If you find him, I'll get him out. Banning closes the connection before Trumbull can give him another order he might not be able to follow. Connor's alive. Somewhere in this building, a 12-year-old kid is hiding from professional killers who just executed a head of state on camera, Margaret's son. The boy Banning taught to throw a punch and find the best hiding spots and stay quiet when the adults were talking about classified things at dinner. If those bastards find Connor before Banning does, they'll use him to break Asher. Drag the kid in front of his father and start hurting him until the president gives up the final Cerberus code. Banning checks his weapon. 17 rounds in the current magazine, 4 spares. Time to go hunting. But first, he needs to know where a scared kid would hide in the most famous building in America when terrorists were kicking in every door. He already knows. Taught Connor himself during those sparring sessions and tactical games that everyone thought were just fun. Always have an escape route. Always have a safe room. Always have a place nobody thinks to look. Banning heads for the 3rd floor, moving fast now, priorities shifted. Intel gathering can wait. Right now, he's got a kid to save. Again. The 3rd floor residential quarters are a maze of bedrooms, sitting rooms, and private spaces most Americans never see. Connor's bedroom is at the east end, decorated with posters and sports equipment and all the normal kid stuff that looks surreal when there's gunfire echoing up from the floors below. Banning clears the hallway first. 2 terrorists sweeping rooms, methodical, kicking in doors and checking closets. They're looking for someone. They haven't found him yet. Good. Banning lets them pass his position, waits until they're focused on the next door, then drops both with suppressed shots to the back of the head. Professional. Quiet. They collapse in a heap, and he drags them into a linen closet before anyone notices. Connor's room is empty. Bed made. Backpack still on the desk. Basketball signed by some player Banning doesn't recognize sitting on a shelf. Everything normal except for the kid-sized panic that must have gripped Connor when the shooting started. But Connor didn't panic. Banning trained him better than that. There's a wet spot on the carpet near the window. Small, fresh, spilled water maybe, or… Banning kneels, touches it, brings his fingers to his nose. Cleaning solution, the kind maintenance uses on the windows. Honor knocked over a bottle when he moved, which means he went out the window. Banning checks the exterior. 3rd floor, no ledge, 30-foot drop to the rose garden below, except there's a maintenance ladder bolted to the wall, painted to match the brick, invisible unless you know it's there. Banning showed it to Connor 2 years ago during a what-if conversation about emergency exits. Told him if something ever went really wrong, if the normal evacuation routes were blocked, this was a way out that nobody else would think to check. The kid remembered. Banning climbs out, follows the ladder down. It's exposed. Anyone looking from the right angle would spot him immediately, but the smoke from the crashed gunship provides cover. He reaches the ground, drops into a combat crouch, scans the area. The rose garden is deserted. Bodies scattered across the lawn beyond, but this immediate area is clear. Connor must have made it down. Then, where? Can't go to the perimeter, too many hostiles. Can't go back inside to the lower floors. Suicide. Where does a 12-year-old with Secret Service training hide when the world's ending? Underground. There's a maintenance tunnel system beneath the White House, original construction from the 1800s, expanded during the Cold War. Most of it's been sealed off or forgotten, but there are still access points if you know where to look. Banning showed Connor one of them during a tour that was half history lesson, half tactical briefing disguised as fun. The access point is hidden behind a false panel in the groundskeeper's shed, tucked against the east wall. Banning moves to it, weapon up, clearing angles. The shed door is ajar. Inside, the panel's been moved. Connor went down. Smart kid. The tunnel entrance is a narrow shaft with an old iron ladder descending into darkness. Banning clicks on his weapon light, starts down. 20 feet. 30. The air gets colder, stale. Bottom. The tunnel stretches in both directions, brick walls slick with condensation, water pooling on the floor. Banning moves east, the direction away from the main building, sweeping his light across the walls, looking for signs, footprints in the water, disturbed dust, anything. There, small shoe print, sneaker, fresh. Connor. Banning keeps his voice low. It's Mike Banning. I'm alone. You're safe. Nothing. Just water dripping somewhere in the distance. Connor, I know you can hear me. I know you're scared, but we need to move. The bad guys are looking for you, and if they find this tunnel, we're both in trouble. Still nothing. Banning moves forward, following the prints. They lead to a junction where the tunnel splits. The prints go left, toward an old storage area that probably hasn't been used since the Clinton administration. He rounds the corner, and there, Connor Asher pressed into an alcove, eyes wide, breathing fast. Terrified but holding it together. He's got a piece of rebar clutched in both hands like a weapon, ready to swing at whoever comes around that corner. When he sees Banning, the rebar drops. Mike? Hey, buddy. Banning holsters his weapon, crouches down. You okay? You hurt? Connor shakes his head. Can't speak. Adrenaline crash hitting hard now that the cavalry's arrived. You did good. Really good. Following the plan, finding the tunnel, staying quiet. That's A+ work. Banning puts a hand on the kid's shoulder. But we gotta move now. Can you do that? Connor nods, finds his voice. My dad. Is he? He's alive. Locked down but alive. My job right now is getting you out. Then we worry about him. Deal? Deal. They move back through the tunnel, Banning in the lead, Connor right behind him, one hand on Banning's tactical vest. The exit shaft looms ahead. Banning climbs first, checks the shed, gives Connor the all-clear signal. Getting Connor out of the tunnel is easy. Getting him off the White House grounds is going to be the hard part. Every exit is either blown open or covered by hostile fire. The perimeter fence is down in some places, intact in others, all of it visible from terrorist positions inside the building. Banning keys his radio, switching to the emergency frequency. Any federal units on the perimeter, this is Banning, Secret Service. I have, Sparkplug, repeat. I have Sparkplug and am moving to extraction point Charlie. Need immediate cover and pickup. Sparkplug, Connor's code name, static. Then a voice crackling through. Banning, this is Metro SWAT Commander Harris. We're positioned 2 blocks north. Can you reach the northwest gate? Negative. Too much coverage. What about the East Service Gate? Also negative. Hostiles have firing positions on all primary exits. Terrific. Banning scans the grounds. The only route that might work is straight through the chaos, using the smoke and debris from the gunship crash as cover, moving fast, hoping the terrorists are too focused on internal operations to notice 2 figures sprinting across the lawn. It's a terrible plan. It's also the only plan. Connor, listen to me. We're gonna run. Fast as you can. Don't stop, don't look back, just follow me, stay low. When I tell you to hit the ground, you hit the ground. Copy? Copy. Good man, on 3. 1, 2, 3. They break from cover. Banning leads, weapon up, scanning for threats. Connor's right behind him, running flat out, trusting completely. 50 yards to the fence, 40. Gunfire erupts to their left. Terrorists on the second floor spotting movement, and Banning returns fire without breaking stride, suppressing the threat long enough to gain another 20 yards. 30 yards. 20. A patrol cuts across their path. Banning dumps half a magazine into them, drops 2. The third takes cover behind a fountain. Banning doesn't stop. Grabs Connor, physically hurls him over the damaged section of fence, then vaults over himself as bullets chew up the ground where they were standing. They're off White House property, not safe, but off. Metro police vehicles screech up, officers pouring out, laying down, covering fire. Someone grabs Connor, hustles him toward an armored truck. Banning follows, empties his magazine at the hostile positions, reloads on the move. Connor's in the truck, safe, being driven away from the battle toward a secure location where the Secret Service will lock him down until this nightmare ends. Banning watches the truck disappear, then turns back toward the White House. Where are you going? Commander Harris grabs his arm. Back in. Are you insane? That building is a kill box. President's still in there, so are 30 other hostages. Banning checks his remaining ammo. I'm going back. You'll die, probably. Banning moves before Harris can stop him, slipping back through the perimeter, back into the smoke and fire. Behind him, the police commander is shouting something about authorization and chain of command and suicide missions. Doesn't matter. Connor's safe. One member of the first family saved. Now it's time to save the rest. 18 months ago, Banning couldn't reach Margaret's hand. Tonight, he'll reach her husband or die trying. Fair trade. Site R, buried deep beneath Raven Rock Mountain on the Pennsylvania-Maryland border, serves as the Pentagon's backup command center when Washington itself becomes a battlefield. Acting President Alan Trumbull stands at the head of a conference table surrounded by every star on every uniform that matters. General Edward Clegg, Army Chief of Staff. Admiral Nathan Hoenig, Navy. 3 stars from every branch. NSA Director, FBI Director, everyone who needs to be in the room when you're planning to take back the White House by force. The screens show live satellite feeds of the building, smoke still rising from the gunship crash. Terrorist positions marked in red. Body count climbing with every update. We've confirmed Banning extracted spark plug, Clegg announces. The boys secure at an undisclosed location. Banning's gone back inside. 1 man against 50. Trumbull rubs his temples. Hasn't slept in 18 hours. Looks like he aged 10 years since the speaker's gavel became the presidential seal. What are our options for a full assault? Delta Forces wheels up from Bragg, ETA 90 minutes. SEAL Team 6 from Dam Neck, similar timeline. FBI's hostage rescue team is closer, but they're not equipped for this level of resistance. Clegg pulls up tactical displays. Recommend we use Navy helos from the Truman. She's in the Atlantic doing workups, but we can divert her air wing. Fast insertion, overwhelming force. Suppress the hostile positions before they can organize a defense. What about casualties? Hostage casualties? In a hot breach? 10 to 30% losses among hostages is standard in these scenarios. Clegg doesn't sugarcoat it. But if we wait, if Kang gets those Cerberus codes, we're looking at millions dead across the country. Trumbull stares at the screens. President Asher is somewhere in that building, along with the Vice President, the Secretary of Defense, Director Jacobs, and 24 others. Sending in shooters means accepting some of them won't make it out. But doing nothing means accepting they all die along with half the country. Green light the assault, Trumbull says. I want every available asset on that building. And get me a direct line to Banning. I need his eyes inside when our teams hit. Back at the White House, Banning's working his way toward the West Wing Command Center. He's eliminated 11 hostiles since extracting Connor, moving like a ghost through corridors he could navigate blindfolded. The terrorists are getting nervous. Bodies keep disappearing, patrols stop reporting in, and nobody can figure out where the threat is coming from. Kang knows someone's in the building. Has to. You don't lose that many men to accidents. Banning reaches the main communications hub, a small server room on the 2nd floor. The door's been blown open, equipment smashed, but not everything. He finds a tactical radio that still works, switches to the encrypted federal frequency. Trumbull, this is Banning. You copy? Mike, thank God. We're launching an air assault in 30 minutes. 6 helicopters, SEAL and Delta shooters, hitting multiple entry points simultaneously. I need you to mark hostile positions and provide real-time updates once they're inbound. Banning processes that 6 helicopters means 60 to 70 operators, all hitting at once. Overwhelming force doctrine should work. Except, sir, these guys are too well equipped. They've had hours to fortify. What's our air defense posture? We've cleared the airspace. F-16s are running cap. Nothing gets close without authorization. I'm not worried about external threats. I'm worried about what they brought in with them. Explain. They shot down an AC-130 gunship, ours or theirs, doesn't matter. Point is, they have serious anti-air capability. If they've got man-pads or something heavier, your helos are sitting ducks. Silence on the other end. Then Clegg's voice cuts in. Banning, we've done thermal scans. No significant weapons. Signatures consistent with surface-to-air systems. With respect, General, these guys smuggled enough hardware to take the White House in under an hour. You think they didn't plan for a counter-assault? Your concern is noted, but we can't wait. Every minute we delay gives Kang more time to extract those codes. The assault proceeds as planned. Banning wants to argue, knows it won't change anything. The decision's made. Brass doesn't have better options. Copy that. I'll be ready. He moves to a window overlooking the north lawn, finds a position with good sight lines and cover, opens a portable tablet he pulled from the comms room, old hardware but functional, and links it to the military network. Starts marking every hostile position he's identified, creating a tactical map for the incoming teams. 28 minutes later, he hears the helicopters. 6th Marine Corps, CH-53 Super Stallions, coming in low and fast from the north. Beautiful formation, textbook approach. Pilots threading the needle between buildings, using the urban terrain to mask their approach until the last possible second. The terrorists hear them too. Positions shift, windows open. Banning sees the guns coming out, assault rifles, machine guns, RPGs, standard defensive loadout. But something's wrong. They're not panicking, not scrambling, they're waiting. The helicopters cross into White House airspace. 500 yards, 400. Doors open, operators ready to fast rope onto the lawn and rooftop. That's when the Hydra system activates. Banning doesn't see where it's positioned at first, somewhere on the roof maybe, or inside an upper floor with a clear firing line. What he sees are the results. The sky lights up with tracer fire, a volume of anti-aircraft rounds that looks like something from a World War II newsreel. Except this isn't 20mm Ehrlichon guns. This is modern, automated, radar-guided death. The lead helicopter takes the first burst. Engines explode. Tail rotor disintegrates. The bird spins, loses altitude, and flams into the north lawn with a fireball that lights up the entire grounds. 20 operators gone in an instant. Second helicopter tries to break off, pulls hard left. Too late. The Hydra tracks it, stitches rounds through the fuselage from nose to tail. Fuel tanks ignite. The helicopter breaks apart mid-air, pieces raining down on Pennsylvania Avenue. Third and fourth birds are already taking evasive action, dumping flares, trying to gain altitude. The Hydra doesn't care. Tracks through the countermeasures like they're not even there. Both helicopters take critical hits. One manages a controlled crash into Lafayette Square. The other drops straight down, kills the pilots on impact, but some of the operators in the back survive the landing and stumble out into immediate gunfire from terrorist positions. The fifth helicopter pilot has the presence of mind to abort before entering the kill zone. Peels off hard, gains altitude, flies out of range. Smart. Lives to fight another day. The sixth bird isn't so lucky. Caught in transition, halfway through the turn, and the Hydra gets a perfect angle. Shreds the cockpit. Both pilots killed instantly. The helicopter goes into an uncontrolled spin and crashes into the Treasury building, Banning's old office, the impact shaking the ground. 45 seconds. 6 helicopters, maybe 10 survivors out of 80 personnel. Massacre. Banning's already moving. He caught a glimpse of the Hydra's muzzle flash top floor, northwest corner. Advanced anti-aircraft system, probably Avenger class or something newer, capable of engaging multiple targets simultaneously with computer-assisted targeting. The kind of hardware that shouldn't exist outside of military installations, but somehow Kang got his hands on it and positioned it perfectly to defend against exactly the response the US just tried. How did he know? How did he plan for every single contingency? Doesn't matter right now. That system has to die before any other rescue attempt can succeed. Banning climbs. 4th floor, 5th, using service stairs. The terrorists haven't bothered securing. They're too busy mopping up the survivors on the lawn, executing wounded operators who lived through the crashes. Every gunshot echoing through the building makes Banning move faster. The Hydra is positioned in the Lincoln bedroom, the bed pushed aside, the weapon system set up with clear firing lanes through the windows. 2 operators manning it, celebrating their kills, high on adrenaline and victory. They don't hear Banning until he's already fired. Both down. Headshots. The Hydra system is still active, radar dish slowly rotating, searching for new targets. Banning doesn't know how to disable it properly, doesn't have time to figure it out. He grabs an RPG from one of the dead terrorists. They've got a whole arsenal stashed up here, aims at the weapons control unit, and fires. The rocket detonates inside the bedroom. The Hydra tears itself apart in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. Banning's thrown backward by the blast, ears ringing, but the system is dead. One threat eliminated. Doesn't bring back the 80 men who just died trying to save the president. Banning's radio crackles, Trumbull's voice shaken. Banning, what the hell was that? Hydra 6 anti-aircraft system. It's down now. But sir, you can't send more air assets. They plan for everything. Every standard response we have, they've countered. Then what do you suggest? Banning looks out over the burning wreckage of the assault. The White House lawn looks like a battlefield in Fallujah, not the symbol of American democracy. I suggest you let me do my job. One man they can't predict. One man who knows this building better than they do. He reloads his weapon. Give me time. I'll get the president out. Long pause. Then Trumbull, voice heavy. You have 12 hours before we consider other options. After that, we may have to accept losses and go with a full ground assault. Tanks, if necessary. Understood. Banning cuts the connection. 12 hours. The bunker is still locked down. Kang is still in control. And somewhere in those hardened rooms beneath his feet, they're probably torturing officials for Cerberus codes. Clock's ticking. Time to change tactics. Secretary of Defense Ruth McMillan has been in plenty of high-pressure situations, testifying before hostile congressional committees, managing military operations across 3 continents, staring down generals who think a woman has no business running the Pentagon. None of it prepared her for this. Kang's men strap her to a chair in the bunker's conference room. President Asher is forced to watch from 10 feet away, still zip-tied, still helpless. Vice President Rodriguez slumped beside him, face swollen from an earlier beating. Director Jacobs bleeding quietly in the corner, pretending she's more injured than she is, waiting for an opening that might never come. Cerberus requires 3 codes, Kang says, circling McMillan like a professor giving a lecture. You have one of them, Madam Secretary. The Vice President has another. The President holds the 3rd. Once I possess all 3, I can activate the system and achieve my objective. McMillan spits blood. You'll never get mine. Everyone says that initially. Kang nods to one of his men who steps forward with a tool that makes Asher's face go pale. What follows isn't something you describe in detail. The screams echo through the bunker for 20 minutes. Asher begs Kang to stop, offers himself instead, promises anything. Kang ignores him. This isn't about negotiation, it's about breaking will, extracting information through the oldest method humanity ever devised. Eventually, McMillan breaks, gasps out the code through tears and blood. 8 characters. Kang enters it into a portable terminal, verifies it against some database his people hacked. Green light. Code accepted. 1 down. 2 to go. McMillan sags in the chair, consciousness fading. They cut her loose, let her collapse on the floor. Move on to the next target. Vice President Rodriguez lasts 12 minutes. He's older, frailer, and he's watched what they did to McMillan. When Kang's man approaches with the tools, Rodriguez just starts talking. Gives up the code without the physical torture broken by the anticipation alone. Kang seems almost disappointed, enters the code. Another green light. 2 down. That leaves President Benjamin Asher, the final piece. The man who swore an oath to protect the Constitution, to defend America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, who's now watching his closest advisors tortured for information that could destroy the country he leads. Kang kneels in front of Asher, meets his eyes. Your code, Mr. President, or I start on your staff, 1 by 1. Until you give me what I want or I run out of people to hurt, you're going to kill us anyway. Eventually, yes. But the manner of death can vary significantly. Quick and painless, or prolonged and agonizing, your choice. Asher's jaw sets. Here's where the president shows what he's made of. Go to hell. Kang stands, considers, then gestures to his men. The woman, Director Jacobs. Bring her. 3 floors above, Banning is waging his own war. He's down to 2 magazines, countless bruises, and a growing awareness that he can't win this by attrition. Every hostile he drops gets replaced by 2 more from positions deeper in the building. They've got numbers, they've got fortifications, they've got time. What they don't have is the element of surprise. Banning rigs and IED from cleaning supplies and propane tanks scavenged from the White House kitchen. Nothing sophisticated, but it doesn't need to be. Plants it in the West Wing corridor where terrorist patrols pass every 10 minutes like clockwork. Retreats to a safe distance and waits. Patrol approaches. 6 men. Heavy footsteps. Conversation in Korean about the helicopter assault. Laughing about American weakness. Banning triggers the device remotely. The explosion tears through the corridor. Fireball rolling along the ceiling. Blast wave shattering windows. The patrol ceases to exist. Alarm scream. Sprinkler systems activate, soaking everything in chemical foam. Before the smoke clears, Banning's moving to the next target. Hit and run. Asymmetric warfare. Exactly what you do when you're outnumbered and outgunned but refuse to quit. He catches another patrol in a stairwell. 4 hostiles descending to investigate the explosion. Banning goes up while they go down, passes them on different floors, circles back, and drops all 4 from behind before they realize they're under attack. Takes their weapons, their radios, their intelligence. The radio chatter is panicked now. Kang's men are realizing they're not hunting one person, they're being hunted by one person. There's a difference. Prey knows when it's being stalked. Forbes, find him. Kang's voice cuts through the radio traffic, cold and controlled. You know how he thinks, how he moves. Track him down and end this. Dave Forbes. Former Secret Service, current traitor. The one person in this building who might actually be able to anticipate Banning's tactics. Fair enough. Banning's been meaning to have a conversation with Forbes anyway. He switches frequencies, isolates Forbes' radio signature, tracks him moving through the East Wing, coordinating search teams, setting up choke points. Forbes is good, would have made a decent agent if he hadn't sold out. But he's thinking like Secret Service, protecting the asset, establishing defensive perimeters. Banning's not thinking like Secret Service anymore. He's thinking like the asset, the threat. The thing in the dark that you can't see until it's too late. Forbes enters the China room, weapon up, clearing corners. Professional. Careful, doesn't see Banning in the ceiling crawl space until the panel drops and Banning lands behind him. Forbes spins, fast, gets his weapon halfway around before Banning slams into him, both of them crashing through an antique display cabinet. Glass everywhere, hand to hand now, close quarters, no room for firearms. Forbes throws an elbow that connects with Banning's jaw. Banning responds with a knee to Forbes' ribs that cracks something. They break apart. Circle. Forbes pulls a knife. You should have stayed dead, Mike. Funny, was thinking the same about you. Forbes lunges. Banning sidesteps, grabs the knife arm, hyperextends the elbow joint until Forbes screams and drops the blade. Banning kicks it away, drives Forbes into the wall, forearm across his throat. Why? Banning's not even winded. You were Secret Service. You swore the same oath I did. Forbes struggles. Can't break free. You really want to know? Money. Simple as that. Kang offered me more in one job than I'd make in 20 years carrying the president's luggage. So you helped him murder the prime minister. Murder your fellow agents. Attack your own country. My country pays me $48,000 a year to take bullets for politicians who don't give a damn about people like me. Kang pays real money. How's that working out for you now? Banning increases pressure on Forbes' throat. Forbes' eyes bulge, vision narrowing. He claws at Banning's arm, desperate, trying to say something. Banning eases off. Slightly. Talk. Kang has the bunker. Code's almost complete, Forbes gasps. President's code, only one left. Kang will get it. Then Cerberus activates. You can't stop it. Watch me. Mike, listen, I can help you. Get you inside the bunker. I know the override codes for the door. Banning considers. Forbes is lying, has to be, but there might be useful intel buried in the desperation. What does Kang want? Why Cerberus? What's the endgame? Revenge. His father was killed. Airstrike during Korean conflict. He blames America. Wants to make us feel the same loss? Forbes coughs. Millions dead. That's the point, not conquest, punishment. Where's he planning to be when Cerberus detonates? Doesn't matter. Failsafe requires codes entered in sequence. 15-minute timer. Plenty of time to evacuate. 15 minutes. Not a lot of time to stop a nuclear catastrophe, but more than Banning expected. He shifts his grip. Forbes senses what's coming. Wait, Mike, we can deal. Snap. Forbes drops. Banning catches him before he hits the floor, lowers him quietly, checks for a pulse. Gone. One less problem. Banning takes Forbes' radio, his security badge, his weapons, then does something calculated. Keys Forbes' radio to Kang's frequency. Kang, this is Forbes. Target is neutralized. Banning is dead. Multiple confirmed hits. He's down in the East Wing. Silence. Then Kang's voice, skeptical. Confirmed? Confirmed. I'm looking at the body right now. Another pause. Kang doesn't entirely believe it. Why would he? But the report buys Banning something valuable, doubt. If Kang thinks the internal threat is eliminated, he'll get sloppy, redeploy his forces, focus entirely on extracting that final code from Asher. Banning leaves Forbes in the China room and heads for the bunker entrance. He's been avoiding it, waiting for the right moment. If Forbes was telling the truth about the 15-minute timer, then Kang needs to get out after activating Cerberus, which means there's a window brief, dangerous but real, where the bunker will be vulnerable. All Banning has to do is stay alive long enough to exploit it. Simple. His radio crackles. Trumbull's voice tight with stress. Banning, we're picking up communications intercepts. Kang may have 2 of the 3 Cerberus codes. How long until you can reach the president? Banning checks his watch. 11:47 p.m. Feels like days since the attack started. Feels like minutes. Working on it, sir. But if they've got 2 codes already, we're on borrowed time. Understood. Mike, if it comes down to it, if Kang activates Cerberus, we'll need you to. I know what you need, sir. Won't come to that. Banning cuts the connection before Trumbull can give him the order explicitly. The order to kill the president if there's no other way to stop the codes from being entered. Not happening. Banning didn't survive this long, didn't fight through this much hell, to put a bullet in Benjamin Asher's head. There's another way. Has to be. He just needs to find it in the next few hours before Kang breaks the president and dooms the country. No pressure. Director Lynn Jacobs has a high pain tolerance. Years of training, countless hours on the range and in hand-to-hand combat drills, the kind of career that teaches you how to compartmentalize suffering. But when they drag her to the center of the bunker and Kang's man pulls out a power drill, all that training evaporates into pure primal fear. Asher lunges against his restraints. "Stop! Leave her alone! Your code, Mr. President." Kang doesn't even look at Jacobs, eyes locked on Asher, reading every micro-expression, every tell. 8 characters. Say them, and Director Jacobs walks away from this. "You're lying. Perhaps, but you'll never know unless you test me." Kang gestures. The drill winds to life, bit spinning. Tick-tock. Asher's breathing hard, sweating, doing the impossible math of how many lives weigh against how many. His code dooms millions. Staying silent dooms Jacobs. Both choices are unthinkable. Both choices are the only ones he has. "Benjamin, don't." Jacobs finds her voice through the terror. "Don't you dare! I knew the job when I took it." "She's very brave," Kang observes. "Admirable, really. But bravery doesn't stop pain, Mr. Jacobs. President, only you can stop it." The drill moves toward Jacobs' knee, inches away. She's shaking now, can't help it, body betraying the courage her mind still clings to. Asher closes his eyes. "Wait." The drill stops. "I'll give you the code, but you let everyone go. Everyone still alive walks out of this building." Kang actually smiles. "You're negotiating? You have no leverage, Mr. President. My code is leverage. You need it. Once you have it, you have no reason to keep hostages. Let them go, and I'll give you what you want. Counter offer. Give me the code, or I kill everyone in this room, starting with Director Jacobs and ending with you. Then I torture your son, who we will find eventually, until someone gives me the override protocol that bypasses your code entirely." Asher's blood runs cold. Connor. They're bluffing. Connor got out, Banning confirmed it. But can Asher risk that? Can he bet his son's life on the hope that Kang doesn't have contingencies within contingencies? Vice President Rodriguez speaks up, voice ragged. "Ben, just tell him, we're dead anyway. At least by time." Kang's expression shifts, calculating. He draws his sidearm in one smooth motion and shoots Rodriguez in the head. The vice president slumps, blood pooling beneath him, dead before he hit the floor. Several people scream. Secretary McMillan turns away, sobbing. Jacob stares in shock, the drill forgotten for a moment. "I don't need his permission," Kang says calmly, holstering his weapon. "And I'm tired of waiting. Your code, now. Or Director Jacobs dies, then McMillan, then everyone else. I'll leave you alive just long enough to comprehend what your stubbornness cost." Asher stares at Rodriguez's body. Good man, family man, served his country for 30 years. Gone in a heartbeat because Kang needed to make a point. How many more will die if Asher keeps silent? How many millions will die if he talks? The president opens his mouth, starts to speak. That's when the lights go out. Banning cut the power 2 minutes ago from the main electrical junction in sub-level 2. Not the bunker's power that runs on independent generators, but the lighting in the access corridors and security systems monitoring the approaches. Gave him just enough darkness to move unseen past the remaining terrorist positions. He's outside the bunker entrance now. Massive blast door, designed to withstand direct hits from bunker buster bombs, sealed tight with electronic locks that require command-level authorization to open. Under normal circumstances, breaching this door would take specialized demolitions and hours of prep work. Banning doesn't have hours. What he does have is Forbes' security badge, the dead traitor's biometric data, and a working knowledge of the bunker's backup protocols from his years on the presidential detail. There's an emergency manual override installed after 9/11, designed to let rescue teams access the bunker if primary systems fail. It requires 3 things: authorized biometrics, correct security codes, and physical key access to a panel hidden behind a false wall. Forbes' corpse provided the first 2. Banning's memory provides the third. He locates the panel, uses Forbes's keycard and fingerprint severed finger in a plastic bag, gruesome but necessary, and inputs the override sequence. The system hesitates, processing, lights flash red, then amber, then green, hydraulics engage with a hiss. The blast door cracks open. 6 inches, 12, enough! Banning slips through into the bunker's outer security vestibule. Motion sensors activate, but he's already past them, moving into the corridor that leads to the main operations room. 2 guards posted at the interior entrance. They turn at the sound, weapons coming up. Banning's faster. 2 shots, suppressed. Both guards drop. Somewhere ahead, through reinforced doors, he can hear voices. Shouting, Kang demanding something, Asher refusing. Banning moves forward, weapon up, clearing angles. The bunker's layout is burned into his brain, spent hundreds of hours down here during drills and exercises. Command center straight ahead. Situation room to the left, emergency presidential quarters to the right. Escape tunnel classified, known to only a handful of people, behind a false panel in the situation room. That tunnel might be their way out. If he can get to Asher, neutralize the hostiles, they can evacuate through a route Kang probably doesn't know exists. Big if. Another guard appears from a side corridor, spots Banning, opens his mouth to shout. Banning crosses the distance in 3 steps, drives his knife up under the guard's chin before sound can emerge, lowers the body silently. The command center door is 10 feet away, voice is clearer now. Kang, your code, now. Or Director Jacobs dies. Banning doesn't wait for an invitation. Kicks the door open, weapon up, already acquiring targets. The room erupts in chaos. 4 hostiles inside. 1 has the drill near Jacobs. 1 is standing guard over McMillan. 2 are flanking Kang, who's in the center of the room with a pistol pointed at Asher's head. Banning's first shot takes the guard near McMillan. Second drops the one threatening Jacobs. Third and fourth target the flankers, both going down hard, all in under 2 seconds. Kang spins, weapon tracking toward Banning, but he's a fraction too slow. Banning's already moving, using the doorframe for cover, firing again. Round catches Kang in the shoulder, spinning him. His shot goes wide, punching through the wall instead of Banning's head. Asher throws himself sideways despite the zip ties, tripping one of Kang's wounded men. Jacobs, hands still free, grabs the fallen drill and drives it into the nearest hostile's neck. Blood sprays. The man goes down screaming. Pure chaos. Exactly what Banning needed. He advances into the room, putting rounds into anything that moves and isn't American. Another hostile comes through the side entrance, must have heard the gunfire, and Banning pivots, drops him with a headshot. Kang's retreating, clutching his wounded shoulder, barking orders in Korean. 2 more guards appear from deeper in the bunker complex. They lay down, suppressing fire, forcing Banning behind an overturned conference table. Get them out! Banning shouts to Jacobs. Situation room, false panel, escape tunnel, move! Jacobs doesn't argue. Cuts Asher's zip ties with a knife from one of the dead guards, helps him up. McMillan is barely conscious but mobile. They stumble toward the exit, Jacobs providing cover with a seized weapon. Banning empties his magazine at the hostile positions, reloads, keeps firing, covering fire while the hostages evacuate. The 2 guards go down, but more are coming. He can hear boots in the corridor, reinforcements responding to the breach. Kang is gone, disappeared into the bunker's interior, either retreating or flanking. Dangerous either way. The hostages are clear. Time to go. Banning backs toward the situation room, firing controlled bursts at the doorway to keep the incoming hostiles pinned. Reaches the room, slams the door, engages the lock. Won't hold long, but doesn't need to. He helps Jacobs with the false panel, releases the hidden catches, pulls it free. Behind it, a tunnel, narrow, dark, stretching into the distance. Where does this go? Asher's coughing, injured from the beating earlier, but he's on his feet. Treasury Building sub-basement, half a mile. We move fast. We're out before they realize where we went. Banning hands Asher a weapon. You remember how to use this, sir? It's been a while, but yeah. Good, because we might need every gun we've got. Behind them, the bunker door explodes inward, shaped charges, the hostiles are breaching. Go. Banning shoves them into the tunnel. Jacobs leads, McMillan in the middle, Asher right behind. Banning takes rear guard, firing back at the breach, slowing the pursuit. They run into darkness. Emergency lighting kicks in after 50 yards, dim bulbs casting shadows. Behind them, shouts in Korean. Gunfire. Pursuit. But they're out. Out of the bunker, out of Kang's immediate control. Mobile, armed, dangerous. For the first time since this nightmare started, Banning allows himself a moment of optimism. Then his radio crackles. Kang's voice, eerily calm. Very impressive, Agent Banning. Truly. but you've made a critical miscalculation. Banning doesn't respond. Keeps moving, covering the rear. I already have all 3 codes, Kang continues. President Asher was about to give me his when you so dramatically interrupted. But it doesn't matter. While you were fighting your way to him, my specialists accessed the backup authorization database. We extracted his code algorithmically. Cerberus is active. Timer initiated. 15 minutes until nationwide detonation. The words hit like a physical blow. Even if you escape, Agent Banning, even if you save the president, everyone dies. Mission accomplished. The radio goes dead. 15 minutes to stop a nuclear apocalypse. Banning's had better odds. The escape tunnel stretches ahead, concrete walls close enough to touch on both sides, ceiling low enough that Asher has to duck. They're running full out. Jacobs practically carrying Macmillan, Banning checking their 6 every few seconds for pursuit that hasn't materialized yet. He's bluffing. Asher gasps between breaths. Kang, has to be. He can't have gotten my code without me giving it. Database hack, Banning counters. If Forbes had admin access, he could have pulled encrypted files. Military-grade decryption takes time, but with the right hardware. We built Cerberus to be unhackable. Yeah, well, we built the White House to be unbreachable. Banning helps Macmillan over a pile of debris. How'd that work out? They reach the end of the tunnel. Steel ladder climbing 30 feet to a maintenance hatch. Treasury building sub-basement, just like Banning promised. Jacobs goes up first, checks the hatch, signals all clear. Macmillan follows, slower, every rung an effort. Asher climbs next. Banning's halfway up when the tunnel behind them lights up with muzzle flashes. Rounds ricochet off the walls, sparks flying. The pursuit caught up. He scrambles faster, pulls himself through the hatch, slams it shut behind him. Heavy steel, but no lock. Won't hold long. They're in the Treasury building's lowest level, surrounded by old filing systems and equipment nobody's used since the Clinton administration. Dusty, dark. But above them, friendly territory, federal agents, military, the entire apparatus of the U.S. government waiting to help. Banning finds a working phone on the wall, landline, ancient but functional. Dials the emergency number that connects directly to Site R. This is Banning. I have Eagle. Repeat. I have Eagle and am at Treasury Sublevel 4. Need immediate extraction and— Mike! Trumbull's voice cuts through, sharp with urgency. We're detecting Cerberus activation. NORAD confirms missile self-destruct sequences initializing across all silos. Timer shows 13 minutes 40 seconds. Is the president secure? Secure and with me. Sir, can we abort Cerberus remotely? Negative. The system requires manual deactivation from the originating terminal. Where's Kang? Still in the White House bunker. That's where he activated it. Then someone has to go back. Access the command terminal in the PEOC and enter the abort sequence before timer expires. Banning looks at Asher. The president's face says everything. He knows what has to happen. Someone has to go back into hell. Someone has to face Kang with the clock running down and the country's survival hanging in the balance. What's the abort sequence? Asher asks, taking the phone from Banning. Mr. President, you can't, Trumbull starts. Alan, I'm the only one who knows the system architecture. I was there when we designed Cerberus. What's the sequence? Silence on the other end. Then Trumbull resigned. The 3 authorization codes entered in reverse order, followed by executive override confirmation. Your biometric signature, your voice print. It has to be you physically at the terminal. Asher hands the phone back to Banning. Meets his eyes. Let's go. Sir, with respect, you're injured. You're exhausted. Send me with the codes. Won't work. Needs my biometrics. Besides, Asher manages a grim smile. It's my mess. My codes that got compromised. My responsibility to fix it. Jacob steps forward. I'm coming too. Negative, Director. Get Macmillan topside. Make sure the Joint Chiefs know what's happening. If we fail, Asher doesn't finish the sentence. Doesn't need to. If they fail, millions die. Simple math. Banning checks his remaining ammunition. 1 magazine, maybe 20 rounds. Against how many hostiles still in the White House? Doesn't matter. Not like he has a choice. 12 minutes, he says. We move fast, fight through anything in our way, get to that terminal. Questions? Yeah. Asher picks up a weapon from one of the dead guards they passed. What if Kang's waiting for us? Then we kill him and keep moving. They head back into the tunnel, running toward the fire instead of away from it. Every instinct screaming that this is suicide, but every rational thought confirming it's the only play available. The tunnel's clear now. The hostile pursuit must have pulled back when they realized Banning had escaped with the president, probably regrouping for a final defense of the bunker, knowing that's exactly where Banning has to return. Walking into a trap. Both sides know it. Both sides committed to the dance. They reach the bunker entrance. Doors still open from their escape, but the interior is dark. Silent. Wrong. Banning goes first. Weapon up, scanning for targets. Nothing. The command center where the firefight happened is empty. Bodies gone. Blood cleaned up. Like it never occurred. The situation room ahead. That's where the Cerberus terminal is located, where Kang will be waiting. 10 minutes left. Banning signals Asher to stay close. They move through the corridor, clearing each room. Storage. Communications. All empty. Kang pulled everyone back to a single defensive position. The situation room door is closed. Banning can hear movement on the other side. One person, maybe two. He doesn't waste time with tactics. Kicks the door open, charges through. Kang standing at the Cerberus terminal, watching the countdown. 9 minutes, 34 seconds. 33, 32. He doesn't turn when Banning enters. Doesn't seem surprised. I knew you'd come back. Kang finally turns. No weapon visible. Just that same calm expression. Couldn't help yourself. The hero complex runs deep in men like you. Step away from the terminal. Or what? You'll shoot me? Go ahead. The countdown continues regardless. Only President Asher can stop it now. And to reach the terminal, Kang gestures. He has to go through me. Banning fires. Center mass. 3 rounds. Kang doesn't drop. Body armor under the suit. Rounds hit with audible impacts but don't penetrate. Kang smiles. Did you really think I'd stand here unprotected? He moves. Faster than Banning expected. Covers the distance between them in seconds. Knocks the gun aside before Banning can adjust his aim. They collide, grappling, fighting for control. Asher runs for the terminal. Kang sees it peripherally, breaks from Banning, lunges for the president. Banning tackles him from behind, both of them crashing into the situation room table. Equipment scatters, screens shatter. Hand to hand. Close quarters. Brutal. Kang's got training that matches Banning's, maybe exceeds it. North Korean Special Forces, decades of combat experience, nothing held back. He gets Banning in a chokehold, squeezing. Vision tunneling. Banning drives an elbow backward, hits ribs. Again. Third time connects with something that gives. Kang's grip loosens. Banning spins free, grabs a broken piece of equipment, swings it like a club, catches Kang across the face. Blood sprays. Kang stumbles. 8 minutes. Asher's at the terminal, fingers flying across the keyboard, entering the reversed authorization codes. First one accepted. Second one error. Tries again. Error. It's not working, Asher shouts. Kang laughs through the blood. I changed the parameters. Your codes are useless. Banning charges again. Kang pulls a knife 8 inches, serrated, designed to kill. Slashes at Banning's throat. Misses by an inch. Banning counters with his own blade, the two of them circling, looking for openings. They clash, blade on blade. Banning's training against Kang's experience. Equal match. Deadly dance. Kang gets inside Banning's guard, drives the knife toward his chest. Banning barely deflects it, but the blade still cuts across his ribs. Shallow, painful, not fatal. He returns the favor. Catches Kang's shoulder, the same one Banning shot earlier. Kang grunts, but doesn't slow down. 6 minutes! Asher's still fighting with the terminal! Mike! I need Kang's biometrics to override the changes he made. Kang hears. Understands. Attacks with renewed fury, knowing if Banning gets him to that terminal, it's over. Banning meets the attack, blocks, parries, counters, takes another cut to the arm, gives one back across Kang's face. They're both bleeding now, both exhausted, both fighting on willpower alone. Kang makes a mistake, overextends on a thrust. Banning catches his wrist, twists, drives his knee into Kang's elbow. Bone snaps, knife drops, doesn't stop him. Kang switches to unarmed strikes, raining blows on Banning's head and body. One catches Banning's jaw, rattles his skull, another to the ribs where he's already cut. Banning staggers. Kang senses victory, presses the advantage. Wrong move. Banning lets him come in close, then explodes upward, both hands grabbing Kang's head, and slams it down onto his rising knee. Once, twice. Third time, Kang's legs give out. Banning doesn't stop, drives Kang to the ground, gets his knife, and finishes it. Kang's body goes limp, dead before his brain processed what happened. 4 minutes. Banning drags Kang's corpse to the terminal. Asher's already pulling up the biometric scanner, presses Kang's dead fingers to the reader. Access granted. The screen unlocks new options. Which code did he change? Banning asks, breathing hard. All of them. He re-encrypted the entire system. Asher's flying through menus, trying to find a backdoor. Wait. Executive override. There's a manual reset option. Requires presidential authorization and what? And the head of the terrorist organization to confirm termination. Asher looks at Kang's body. The system needs to verify he's dead before it allows override. 3 minutes. They input the commands. Presidential voice print, authorization, Asher, Benjamin, President of the United States, fingerprints. Retinal scan from Kang's corpse, gruesome but necessary. 2 minutes. The system processes, verifying, checking, taking forever while the countdown continues its inexorable march toward detonation. 1 minute 30 seconds. Come on, Asher whispers. Come on, green light. Override accepted. New screen. Enter deactivation sequence. Asher's hands move faster than thought, entering the code string from memory. 60 seconds. The numbers flow. 45. Still typing. 30. Almost done. 20. Enter. The countdown stops. 00,019 frozen on the screen. Silence. Complete and total. Then alarms shut off. Red light switched to green. Across the country, in missile silos from Montana to Nebraska to North Dakota, self-destruct sequences abort. Warheads stand down. Crisis averted. 19 seconds to spare. Banning sags against the wall. Asher slumps into a chair, hands shaking. Neither speaks for a long moment. Finally, Asher, we should probably get out of here. Yeah. Banning hauls himself upright. Probably. They leave Kang where he fell. Head back through the bunker, through the tunnel, toward the light, toward home. Sunrise over Washington, D.C. looks different when you spent the night fighting to ensure there would be a sunrise at all. Banning emerges from the Treasury building into a world that's somehow still standing. Emergency vehicles everywhere. Fire trucks, ambulances, military convoys. The White House grounds are cordoned off behind triple layers of security, smoke still rising from the wreckage. News helicopters circle at a distance, capturing footage that'll play on every channel for months. The attack lasted 7 hours. Feels like 7 years. Medical personnel swarm the moment they spot President Asher. He waves them off initially, insists on checking on the other survivors first, but eventually allows himself to be examined. Gunshot wound to the abdomen happened during the final fight with Kang, adrenaline masking the pain until now. Not life-threatening if treated quickly, but another 10 minutes and the internal bleeding might have been a different story. They load him onto a stretcher. He fights it. I can walk. Sir, with respect, shut up and let us do our jobs. The paramedic doesn't realize who she's talking to until someone whispers in her ear. Her face goes pale. I mean, Mr. President! Asher actually laughs, winces immediately because laughing hurts. You're right. Do your job. Director Jacobs is being treated for facial fractures and a concussion. Secretary McMillan is already en route to Walter Reed, critical but stable. The casualty list from everyone else is longer than Banning wants to think about. Secret Service agents, White House staff, military personnel from the failed helicopter assault, civilians caught in the crossfire during the initial attack. The body count will take days to finalize, hundreds dead, maybe more, but millions alive. That's the math Banning forces himself to focus on. Without the White House takeover, without Kang getting those codes and activating Cerberus, the death toll would have been exponentially worse. Small comfort to the families of the fallen, but comfort nonetheless. Speaker of the House, Acting President Alan Trumbull arrives via Marine One, touching down on the South Lawn despite the protests from his security team about the area not being fully secured. He's been running the country from a bunker for 7 hours, and he's done with bunkers. He finds Asher being loaded into the ambulance. The two men lock eyes. No words needed. Trumbull salutes. Asher returns it from the stretcher. Transfer of authority reversed in a gesture. America has its president back. Trumbull turns to Banning, who's refusing medical attention despite the knife wounds, the bruises, the exhaustion written across every line of his face. Agent Banning, walk with me! They move away from the chaos, toward the perimeter where Marine One is waiting. Trumbull doesn't speak for a long moment, just stares at the damaged White House, at the symbol of American power that came within 19 seconds of becoming the symbol of American extinction. I owe you an apology, Trumbull finally says. 18 months ago, when you were reassigned, I supported that decision. Thought you were too close to the family, too emotionally compromised to do the job effectively. Banning doesn't respond. Let's Trumbull continue. I was wrong. Your emotional investment is exactly why you succeeded where everyone else would have failed. You didn't fight for the office or the institution. You fought for the people inside. That made all the difference. Just did my job, sir. No. You did everyone's job. Single-handedly held off 50 terrorists, rescued the first son, eliminated their air defenses, extracted the president from a fortified bunker, and stopped a nuclear catastrophe with seconds to spare. Trumbull extends his hand. On behalf of a grateful nation, thank you. Banning shakes it. Doesn't know what to say. Settles on. We lost a lot of good people today. We did, and we'll honor them. But we didn't lose everything. Because of you. Trumbull boards Marine One. The helicopter lifts off, heading back to wherever the continuity of government protocols dictate. Banning watches it disappear into the dawn sky, then turns back toward the controlled chaos of the recovery operation. Someone calls his name. He turns. Connor Asher, running full tilt across the lawn, Secret Service agents struggling to keep up. The kid hits Banning like a missile, arms wrapping around him in a hug that nearly knocks them both over. "You saved my dad," Connor's crying. "Not ashamed of it. They said you went back. They said you fought everyone and you saved him." Banning returns the hug, thinks about Margaret, about the bridge, about 18 months of carrying guilt that felt like it would never lift. Had to. Promised your mom I'd look after you guys. Connor doesn't let go for a long time. When he finally does, his face is wet but his expression is lighter. "Can you teach me more stuff, more tactical things? Your dad might have opinions about that. He'll say yes. He always liked when you taught me." Banning manages a smile. First genuine one in what feels like forever. "We'll see, after everyone gets some sleep. About a month's worth." They walk back toward the medical staging area together. Connor talking nonstop about where he hid, how he followed the plan exactly like Banning taught him, how scary it was. But he didn't panic because he remembered what Banning said about staying calm in emergencies, processing trauma through adrenaline and relief. Banning listens, provides the adult presence the kid needs, thinks about how close this all came to ending differently. 19 seconds. 3 weeks later. The White House reopens. Not fully, whole sections are still under reconstruction, but enough for essential operations. The president insists on it. America needs to see that its government isn't cowering in some backup facility. The building was attacked. The building survived. So did the country. Asher's first official act after medical clearance is a ceremony on the South Lawn. Memorial service for the fallen, names read aloud, one by one, Secret Service agents, military personnel, White House staff, Prime Minister Lee, Vice President Rodriguez, Director Lynn Jacobs, who succumbed to her injuries 2 days after the attack, each name a reminder of the cost. Each name a weight that Asher and Banning will carry forever. After the ceremony, private meeting. Oval Office, just the two of them. Asher's moving carefully, still healing, but he's on his feet. Refused the wheelchair his doctors recommended. Presidents don't address the nation from wheelchairs unless there's no alternative. "I'm reinstating you to the presidential detail," Asher says without preamble. "Effective immediately. Director position is open. Jacob's successor hasn't been named yet, but when it is, I'm personally recommending you for the role." Banning shakes his head. "Sir, I appreciate the offer, but I don't need a promotion. Just want my job back." "You'll have it." "But Mike." Asher pauses. "What happened on the bridge?" "Margaret. I never blamed you. Never for a second. You made the right call. Saved Connor and me. Gave the country its president. She understood the risks. We both did. Doesn't make it easier." "No. But maybe this does. If you'd made a different choice that night, if you'd gone for her first, we'd have all died. Connor included. And last week, the bunker, Kang, Cerberus, none of that gets stopped. Margaret sacrificed herself so the rest of us could live, so you could be here to save us when it mattered most." Banning's throat tightens. "Hasn't cried since the bridge, not once, doesn't start now. But it's close, she'd be proud of you," Asher continues, "of what you did, how you fought, who you saved." He extends his hand. "Welcome back, Mike." Banning takes it. "Thank you, sir. One condition. You teach Connor those tactical things he keeps pestering me about. Kid won't shut up about secret passages and emergency protocols. Deal." They shake on it. Transfer complete. Banning's back where he belongs. Protecting the first family. Doing the job he was born for. Later, standing post outside the Oval Office, weapon at his side, alert for threats that won't come today but might tomorrow, Banning lets himself feel something other than guilt for the first time since Margaret died. Purpose. Redemption. Peace. The White House doors open. Connor comes bounding down the hall, slows when he sees Banning at his post, grins. "Does this mean you're back for real?" "For real." "Cool. Dad said you'll teach me more stuff. After school. Homework first." Connor groans but doesn't argue. Heads off toward the residential quarters. Halfway there, he turns back. "Hey, Mike. Thanks. For everything. Anytime, kid." The boy disappears around the corner. Banning returns to his watch. The building is quiet, peaceful, normal. Exactly how it should be. Outside, the flag is flying again, full-size, pristine, replacing the one that was shredded during the attack. Stars and stripes catching the breeze, visible for miles. The symbol held, the country held, democracy survived. And standing guard, doing the job he was always meant to do, Mike Banning held the line. Olympus has fallen. But it rose again, stronger, wiser, ready for whatever comes next. That's the thing about America. Knock it down, it gets back up. Every single time. So that's Olympus Has Fallen, a Secret Service agent fighting through a captured White House to save the president and stop a nuclear catastrophe. Simple premise, executed with the kind of ruthless efficiency that matches its protagonist. But there's more happening under the surface than just explosions and knife fights. This film taps into something primal about American identity, about symbols, and what happens when those symbols get violated. Worth unpacking. What this movie is really about on the surface. Action thriller. Die Hard in the White House, which is exactly how the marketing pitched it. One man, impossible odds, iconic location under siege. Formula that works because it's been working since the 80s. Dig deeper, though, and Olympus Has Fallen is wrestling with post-9/11 anxiety that never quite went away. The idea that America's most protected spaces aren't actually protected, that the institutions we trust to keep us safe might be vulnerable in ways we don't want to acknowledge. The film came out in 2013, more than a decade after the Twin Towers fell, but the cultural trauma was still fresh, still is. And here comes a movie that asks, what if it happened again? What if someone got past all our defenses, all our billion-dollar security systems, and struck at the literal heart of American power? Terrifying concept, which is exactly why it makes for compelling cinema. Banning's character arc runs parallel to that national anxiety. He failed to save someone he loved, spent 18 months carrying that guilt, questioning whether he still had what it takes. The White House attack becomes his chance at redemption, sure, but it's also America's test. Can we recover from violation? Can we fight back when the institutions fail? The answer the movie gives is yes, but only through individual heroism, not institutional power. Every official response fails. The Secret Service gets overrun. The military assault gets destroyed. The Pentagon's fancy technology means nothing. What saves the day is one man with training, determination, and intimate knowledge of the battlefield. There's a very American mythology baked into that. The lone hero, the individual over the collective. It's John Wayne, it's Dirty Harry, it's every Western where the sheriff stands alone against the bad guys because the townsfolk can't or won't help. Whether you find that empowering or reductive probably depends on your politics. But you can't deny it works on a storytelling level. The things this movie gets right. Let's start with Gerard Butler. Casting him as Banning was a smart move. He's got the physicality for action, trained in martial arts, comfortable with weapons, sells the combat scenes without looking like he's trying too hard, but he also brings emotional weight. Those early scenes with the first family, the quiet devastation after Margaret's death, the way he looks at Connor throughout the film. Butler makes you believe Banning genuinely cares about these people beyond just doing his job. Compare that to generic action heroes who are basically robots with six-pack abs. Banning feels human, tired, guilty, driven by something more than patriotism or duty. That emotional core makes the violence meaningful instead of just spectacle. Aaron Eckhart as President Asher also deserves credit. He could have played this as action movie tough guy president, but instead he's vulnerable, scared, making impossible choices under torture. The scene where he's about to give up his Cerberus code to save Director Jacobs, you believe that internal conflict. You believe he'd sacrifice millions to save one person he cares about, and you believe the guilt that choice would carry. That moral complexity elevates the whole film. The villains work too. Rick Yoon's Kang isn't chewing scenery or delivering monologues about world domination. He's calm, methodical, driven by personal revenge wrapped in ideological justification. His plan makes sense within the film's logic. He's not trying to conquer America. He's trying to cripple it permanently, make us feel the same loss his country felt. Twisted, but you understand the motivation. And Forbes, the traitor played by Dylan McDermott, represents something even more unsettling than external enemies, betrayal from within. He's not ideologically opposed to America. He's just greedy, sold out for money. That hits different because it's plausible. How many people with security clearances and access to sensitive information are one bad financial decision away from becoming Forbes? Uncomfortable question. Good antagonist design makes you ask uncomfortable questions. Technically, the film is solid. Director Antoine Fuqua knows how to shoot action. The geography is always clear. You never lose track of where people are in relation to each other, which is rarer than it should be in modern action cinema. The White House becomes a character itself. You understand the layout, the defensive positions, the routes Banning uses to move unseen. Compare that to shaky cam chaos where you can't tell what's happening, and the craftsmanship stands out. The violence has weight. People die messily. Consequences feel real. This isn't Marvel where cities get destroyed and nobody bleeds. When the gunships strafe the White House lawn, you see bodies. When hostages get executed, it's brutal and quick and horrible. The movie doesn't shy away from the cost of its premise. Some viewers found that too intense. R rating for a reason. But I'd argue it's necessary. If you're going to make a movie about terrorists massacring people in the White House, you can't sanitize it. Has to hurt, has to feel wrong. Otherwise, you're just playing with action figures. The things that don't quite work now for the flip side. Because Olympus Has Fallen isn't perfect. Far from it. The plot requires massive suspension of disbelief. How did Kang smuggle that much hardware through diplomatic channels? How did Forbes disable that many security systems without anyone noticing? How did a modified gunship penetrate the most protected airspace on Earth without getting shot down immediately? The film hand-waves these questions, expects you to accept that it happened and move on. That's fine for some viewers. It's an action movie, not a documentary. But for others, the implausibility strains credibility past the breaking point. Cerberus itself is narratively convenient. A nuclear fail-safe system that requires 3 codes from 3 different people who just happen to all be in the White House bunker at the same time, and it can cause warheads to detonate in their silos on American soil. The logistics of that don't hold up under scrutiny. Real nuclear command and control has way more redundancies and safeguards. You can't just hack your way to nuclear Armageddon in 7 hours. But the movie needs that ticking clock, needs those stakes, so it invents a system that serves the plot rather than reality. Again, action movie, concessions must be made, but it's worth noting, some of the supporting characters are underwritten. Melissa Leo's secretary Macmillan gets tortured but doesn't have much personality beyond tough official. Angela Bassett's director Jacobs deserved more screen time. She's a great actress playing a crucial role, but the script doesn't give her enough to do before she's sidelined. Morgan Freeman as Speaker Trumbull fares better, probably because he's Morgan Freeman and can make reading a phone book compelling. But even his character is mostly reactive, responding to crises rather than driving action. The film also leans into some questionable geopolitical assumptions. North Korea as the villain feels like it's playing on Western anxieties more than engaging with actual Korean politics. Kang's motivation revenge for his father's death is personal, but the film uses North Korean terrorism as shorthand for exotic, inscrutable evil. There's an argument to be made that this perpetuates stereotypes. Asian villains seeking revenge through elaborate plot. Not the most progressive characterization. The film tries to complicate it by making Forbes the traitor, showing that homegrown threats are just as dangerous, but the primary antagonist being North Korean still carries baggage. Your mileage may vary on how much that bothers you, just something to be aware of. The ending wraps up a bit too neatly. 19 seconds left on the Cerberus countdown. Banning defeats Kang in hand-to-hand combat. President saves the day at the terminal. Everything works out perfectly. Would have been more interesting if there were messier consequences. What if they stopped Cerberus but one missile still detonated? What if Asher had to make a genuine sacrifice to deactivate the system? Instead, we get Hollywood heroism where the good guys win and America is saved and the flag waves triumphantly, satisfying in the moment but lacks the tragic weight the story could have carried. Why it still works, despite the flaws. Here's the thing though, none of those flaws kill the movie. They're noticeable, sure. They prevent it from being a masterpiece. But Olympus Has Fallen succeeds at what it's trying to do, deliver a tense, visceral action thriller that keeps you engaged for 2 hours. Sometimes that's enough. Not every film needs to be The Dark Knight or Die Hard, aiming for action genre perfection. Sometimes you just want to watch Gerard Butler knife fight terrorists in the White House while a nuclear countdown ticks away. Olympus Has Fallen delivers that experience competently. The action is well choreographed. The stakes feel real within the film's logic. The emotional beats land. Banning's redemption arc pays off. The catharsis of watching the flag raised again at the end genuinely works despite being manipulative. Because yeah, the film is manipulative. It's designed to push patriotic buttons, to make you feel violated when the White House falls and triumphant when it's reclaimed. That's not subtle, but it's effective, and there's value in effectiveness. Plenty of movies try to be smart, subversive, commentary-rich, and fail because they forget to be entertaining first. Olympus Has Fallen never forgets. Entertainment is the priority, everything else is secondary. The legacy and franchise. The film was successful enough to spawn 2 sequels, London Has Fallen 2016 and Angel Has Fallen 2019. Neither quite captured what made the first one work. London went bigger and dumber, turning Banning into a superhero who can't be killed. Angel went more personal, focusing on Banning being framed for attempting to assassinate the president. Both have their moments. Neither has the claustrophobic intensity of the original. Something about that single location, the White House under siege, made this one special. The sequels lose that by going globe-trotting or conspiracy-heavy. There's also the weird coincidence that White House Down came out the same year, 2013, with basically the same premise. Channing Tatum instead of Gerard Butler, Roland Emmerich directing instead of Antoine Fuqua. Lighter tone, more spectacle, less grit. The 2 films inevitably got compared. Olympus was darker, more violent, more serious. White House Down was goofier, more family-friendly despite the R rating, more willing to embrace its own ridiculousness. Which one's better? Depends on taste. I prefer Olympus for its commitment to consequences and its willingness to let the violence hurt. But White House Down has its charms. Both are worth watching if you're into this genre. The fact that 2 White House Under Siege movies came out simultaneously says something about where American culture was in 2013. Still processing 9/11, still anxious about security, still needing cathartic narratives where we get attacked but ultimately prevail. Whether that's healthy cultural processing or unhealthy wallowing is above my pay grade. But it's interesting. The performances worth highlighting. Beyond Butler and Eckhart, there are smaller roles that deserve mention. Radha Mitchell as Leah Banning doesn't get much to do, but she sells the worried wife of action hero role without being annoying. That's harder than it sounds. Many films make the wife a nag or an obstacle. Mitchell plays Leah as supportive, understanding the job, giving Banning emotional grounding. Finley Jacobson as Connor Asher is a solid child actor. Kid roles in action movies can be insufferable, precocious, unrealistic, plot devices instead of characters. Connor feels like an actual 12-year-old who's scared but trying to be brave. The scenes with Banning work because Jacobson sells the trust between them. Robert Forster has a small role as General Clegg, basically exposition delivery, but he brings gravitas. Same with Morgan Freeman, his presence elevates every scene he's in, even when the dialogue is functional rather than memorable. And Rick Yoon does a lot with limited screen time as Kang. He's not in the movie as much as you might remember. Most of his presence is through radio communications and the threat he represents. But when he's on screen, especially in the final fight, he's genuinely menacing. The fight choreography between Banning and Kang is brutal. No martial arts showboating. Just 2 highly trained killers trying to end each other as efficiently as possible. It's short, nasty, and decisive. Exactly what that moment needed. What the film says about heroism. Here's where the movie gets philosophically interesting, intentionally or not. Banning's heroism is entirely reactive. He doesn't choose to be in the White House when it's attacked. He runs back in on instinct. He doesn't have a master plan, he's improvising constantly. He doesn't overcome through superior firepower or technology. He uses knowledge of the terrain and sheer determination. That's a specific kind of heroism, not the superhero saving the world because it's destiny, not the chosen one with special powers, just a guy who refuses to quit even when quitting is the rational choice. There's something deeply appealing about that. In an age of Marvel dominance where heroes have magic hammers or genius intellects or super soldier serum, Banning is just well-trained and stubborn. He wins because he knows the battlefield and because he cares more than the opposition expects. The film also grapples with the cost of that heroism. Banning is wounded, exhausted, traumatized. The violence he commits, even justified, clearly affects him. He's not enjoying this. He's enduring it because someone has to. Contrast that with action heroes who quip while killing dozens of faceless henchmen. Banning barely speaks during the action sequences. He's focused, professional, getting the job done so it can be over. That restraint makes the character more interesting. He's not performing heroism for an audience. He's doing an ugly job that needs doing. Final verdict: Olympus Has Fallen isn't going to change your life. It's not going to make you rethink cinema or question your assumptions about the world. It's a solid action thriller that does what it sets out to do with competence and occasional flashes of excellence. If you're looking for a tense, well-executed siege movie with strong performances and unflinching violence, you'll find plenty to enjoy here. If you want realistic geopolitics or nuanced commentary on American foreign policy, look elsewhere. The film knows what it is, doesn't pretend to be more, doesn't apologize for being less. There's integrity in that self-awareness. Would I watch it again? Already have. Multiple times. It's the kind of movie you can throw on when you want action that respects your intelligence without demanding too much emotional investment. Comfort food for action junkies. Would I recommend it? Depends on the person. If you liked Die Hard, Air Force One, The Rock, that breed of 90s and early 2000s action thriller, you'll probably dig this. If you prefer your action more stylized like John Wick or more cerebral like Sicario, this might feel too straightforward. But for what it is, a meat and potatoes action film about protecting the White House from terrorists, it's damn good. Better than it had to be, smart enough to work, simple enough to not collapse under its own weight. Why? Stories like this matter. Stepping back from this specific film, there's value in the action genre that sometimes gets dismissed. We need stories about people facing impossible odds and prevailing. We need catharsis. We need to see characters pushed to their absolute limits and discover they're stronger than they thought. That's not escapism, or rather it is, but escapism serves a purpose. Real life rarely offers clear victories or unambiguous heroism. We deal with complex problems that don't have simple solutions. We face threats we can't punch our way through. But movies like Olympus Has Fallen let us experience vicariously what it feels like to face a threat you can fight, to have a clear enemy and the tools to defeat them, to protect the people you love through direct action. Is that fantasy? Absolutely. But fantasy fulfills psychological needs, makes us feel capable in a world that often makes us feel powerless. So while Olympus Has Fallen isn't high art, it's not empty calories either. It's mythology. Modern mythology where the warrior protects the tribe, defeats the invaders, restores order from chaos. Humanity's been telling that story for thousands of years. The setting changes. White House instead of castle, guns instead of swords. But the core remains. We need heroes. We need stories about courage under fire. We need to believe that one person with conviction can make a difference. Olympus Has Fallen delivers that. Wrapped in explosions and knife fights and Gerard Butler's gravelly determination, sure. But it delivers. And sometimes, on a Friday night when the world feels overwhelming and complicated, that's exactly what you need. A story where the good guy wins, the bad guys lose, and the flag still flies when the smoke clears. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Olympus Has Fallen, hit that like button and subscribe for more movie breakdowns. Drop a comment telling me what you think about this film. Does it hold up 10 years later, or does the premise feel dated? And what's your favorite one-man army action movie? I'm always looking for recommendations.